All right, settle in. Because if you want a story that's going to make you shake your head, laugh, and maybe even see a little bit of yourself in it, well, this is one of those tales. Let me walk you through the wildest year of my life, the year the HOA thought they could strong-arm me and learn the hard way. What happens when you mess with a stubborn old ranch and a guy who won't back down? You ever notice when life seems to finally calm down, when the only thing you're worried about is a leaky fence or a creaky porch swing? Something comes along to stir the pot. That was me moving out to the ranch I inherited from my grandfather. Place looked like something out of a country postcard, peeling white farmhouse porch that groaned with every footstep. Horses grazing under wide blue skies, goats making trouble by the shed, chickens running their own little feathered mafia out back. I'd left my city job engineer rat race the whole bit behind, thinking peace and quiet was finally in the cards. But you know what happens when a place is too peaceful? Folks next door start to think it needs fixing. Enter Judith H. Oh, a President Queen Bee of Maplewood Heights blazer. Always crisp words, always sugar-coated, at least until she decided you were a problem. She showed up 2 weeks in SUV, kicking up dust like she owned the road. Just welcoming you to the neighborhood, she said. But you could feel it the way her eyes scanned the pastures, the way she lingered over the barn, taking notes in her head. I told her straight, "Ma'am, I'm not part of your HOA." She smiled tight, practiced, and left me with the uneasy sense that welcome wagons aren't always friendly. I should have trusted that instinct. She came back a few days later, clipboard in hand, smile even thinner. "We've been reviewing the boundaries. There's uncertainty. Would you mind if I took a look around? Now I've learned in life when someone says it's for everyone's benefit, you best keep an eye on your wallet." But against my better judgment, I let her poke around. 5 minutes later, she'd managed to fall waist deep into the compost pit behind my barn. There she was, covered head to toe in muck pearl necklace, lost somewhere in the slop, screaming for help. I hauled her out with a piece of rebar, tried not to laugh, offered her a cup of coffee, just to be polite, but she stormed off more offended than grateful, heels squelching all the way back to her fancy car. You'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Not a chance. Within the week, a courier dropped off an envelope from a law firm Judith was suing me for emotional distress and damage to reputation over her fall. Said my land was dangerous, that I failed to maintain it, and she wanted money for her ruined suit, therapy bills, you name it. I just about spit out my coffee. Luckily, ranchers learned to keep their own receipts. I'd installed cameras around the property, partly for coyotes, partly because I knew city folks sometimes get lost. Footage showed her trespassing, snapping pictures, tripping right into the pit without so much as a warning sign, then me dragging her out. My lawyer, Clara, sharp as a tack, no nonsense, grinned when she saw the footage. "This is gold, Ethan." We went to court. Judith's lawyer painted me as the careless country bumpkin endangering upstanding community members. Then Clara played the video. You could hear the snickers ripple through the courtroom. The judge dismissed her claim before the coffee in his mug had time to cool. But Judith wasn't done, not by a long shot. The next act came fast. 2 contractors pulled up in a big truck, claiming they were ordered by the HOA to remove the fence that supposedly crossed into their territory. "We're just following orders," they said, waving some official-looking paperwork. I stood my ground, told them they'd best check their facts before they started tearing up anything. And maybe check with my shotgun, too, if they thought trespassing was on the table. Clara and I called in a surveyor, Frank, a meticulous old-timer who looked like he measured everything twice, sometimes 3 times. After a day spent measuring, flagging, and squinting at old plats, Frank came up to me, map in hand, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. "Mr. Miller, your fence is exactly where it should be. But here's the kicker, the HOA's parking lot and half their storage shed. That's on your property." Now that was a moment. If the HOA wanted a war over a few feet of fence, they'd just lost an acre of blacktop and a building to boot. Things moved fast. Clara filed a complaint demanding the HOA vacate my land and pay for years of unauthorized use. Next thing you know, we're back in court. This time the place was packed, word had gotten around. Judith tried to act like it was all a misunderstanding, but the judge wasn't buying it. The evidence was clear. HOA trespassing contractors sent without consent lawsuits flying over nothing but pride and stubbornness. The judge's ruling was swift and sharp. HOA was ordered to remove the parking lot and shed pay damages, cover my legal fees, and maybe best of all got a little lecture about neighborliness and boundaries. Judith's face went pale. She was forced to resign. The board split reforms promised. Now here's where life throws a twist. Instead of doubling down, the new board president, Tom Humble Guy, calloused hands, not a fan of drama, came to my gate hat in hand. He thanked me, told me, "You forced us to take a hard look at who we were becoming. We want to do better." For the first time, I actually believed him. Things settled. The HOA for once left me alone. My animals thrived. My porch became peaceful again. And surprise, surprise, I started getting invitations to community BBQs and actual honest-to-goodness conversations with neighbors who'd once crossed the street to avoid me. Even found a few kindred spirits among them. Guess a shared love of stubborn animals and quiet sunsets can go a long way. So what's the moral? You could say it's about standing your ground, but it's also about knowing when to push back and when to extend a hand after the dust settles. Power rules boundaries. They only work if there's respect on both sides. Sometimes you have to fight for your space, but you don't have to live angry forever. Sometimes, if you're lucky, even the toughest battles can end in understanding. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think? When is it right to draw the line and fight, and when is it better to let bygones be bygones? Ever dealt with a neighborhood feud that spun out of control? Drop your story in the comments. Let's hear what justice looks like where you live.